Mr. and Mrs. North and South American, all the ships at sea, let's go to
The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to The Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephas and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to another all-new show on the Bitchspot Report, episode 59. Today we're going to go into a series of stories about religious boycotts, school stupidity, and the failure of religion to survive in the information age, which we've been talking about for a long time now anyway. So how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Could be better, but, you know, that's life.
Yeah, absolutely. You got anything particular to bitch about this week? 'Cause I got nothing.
I would like to bitch about stupid people, but I think we're going to do that here in a little bit. I don't know. I have a tax issue, and it's all caused because somebody thought they were smarter than what the laws say in the country.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, I mean, I had a tax issue this year too. I mean, it wasn't anything serious, but like I got a payout from a class action lawsuit, and when they filled out their paperwork to send me for tax stuff, they filled out the stuff wrong. So I had to mail it in for the first time in probably the last 10 years.
Yeah. Illinois's got this reciprocating deal with Michigan. Let's see, I think it's Iowa, Michigan, Indiana, and maybe Kentucky. Which basically means I pay into Illinois, and then Illinois will then pay these states, depending on, since I'm working in Michigan, theoretically how it was supposed to work is it goes into Illinois, then Illinois pays out what I owe Michigan. Well, this HR person thought they were smarter and decided to take me off Illinois and put me on Michigan taxes. So Illinois wants their full cut. Of course, I haven't worked a day in Illinois. Year and a half, almost maybe getting close to 2 years. And, it's all coming to roost. And I'm just like, and it's all because the company I work for, we send people all over the country. And, a lot of these guys that go to, they go out on a job for a year or two, they'll actually move to where the job site is. If it's Kentucky, we have people going to Texas, things like that. So she thought I was one of those, and decided I'd just switch over. And she did it with no paperwork. And I didn't realize at the time that's what she was doing. And then I come to find out, and I talked to the HR person this year, and, she should never have done that. And that's part of the reason why we fired her. So I've heard these little horror stories about HR people who either do things like this, or a friend of mine, she got a job. She got a job, and she was going to be like the HR / receptionist, doing everything. And she comes to find out this company was not even collecting W-2s, W-4s, no paperwork on benefits or anything for the employees. No one's ever filled out any paperwork. Even the immigration stuff, that had to be filed and stuff. And because whoever ran it before her didn't think it was important. It's like, what the fuck, there's that, I don't know, that level of stupidity out there that, and I don't want to point, I don't know where these people do this, but, these are people who, they go to college and learn stuff. If they learn anything basic, I would think they would be pretty smart. And, from my standpoint, I've never started a business or ever ran a business on my own, but I know there's stuff I gotta be on top of. Stuff I gotta figure out. How do I handle my taxes? How do I handle this? How do I get loans or set up bank loans or bank accounts or whatever I need to do to run my business? And, I know there's a lot of work involved and a lot of papers that have to be filed, and I'm sure lawyers some might have to get involved or however the arrangement is. And, that's just, I don't know this stuff, but I know it's out there. To go into a company thinking that, it just automatically happens. I'm like, that's not how it works.
It's magic. Come on.
Yeah. So that's my beef. It's smart people being stupid.
Yeah.
I would like to think it's just, honest mistakes, but this was stuff that should be like HR 101, It's like, when you fill out, all this stuff. And I mean, I can understand not being on top of it, but I don't understand how you could just, do things without paperwork. That's the thing that's the part that boggles my mind on this one. So, and that's my beef.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's your company's job to fix it and, pay any penalties or anything else. It's not your fault because you didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah. Mine was just stupid because usually we only pay electronically. So, we send it off and 3 to 5 days later, we have our refund back in our account. This year, they filled out the W-2 and whatever was supposed to be in box 15 or whatever box it was, they put in box 14. And that's the entire thing that was wrong with it. And so we had to send copies of everything to the government. And instead of taking a couple of days, it's taking over a month. That is so stupid. But it's like, I can't go complain anyway because, they don't owe me anything. It's not like they work for me or anything, or I work for them. It was a class action lawsuit. So it's like, all right, whatever. Stupid people.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about more of them.
We got no end of stupid people in this show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since we're only doing news this week, anybody out there who really has anything they want us to talk about or to address, please let us know. We kind of run out of things to go after a lot, and that's why we do shows like this, where we're just talking about news. Because we got nothing else. So please, if you have something on your mind, if you have something that you're interested in hearing about, let us know. And let's do some news. And now the news.
No matter how things change, what makes us wholesome never will. Honey Maid. Everyday wholesome snacks for every wholesome family. This is wholesome.
The American Decency Association is joining the American Family Association in boycotting Honey Maid graham crackers, which put out an ad showing a same-sex couple and their children as wholesome. The ADA's Steve Houston declares that this is Satan's doing. He says that Satan is trying to take words like wholesome and family and twist them to his own evil agenda. Does this Houston guy know that Satan, like God, is an imaginary character? I mean, how do you deal with people like this who just don't quite understand reality?
You don't. You just call stupid as stupid. I was going through for one of the other stories, and I was just kind of curious, because we'll be talking about, Pat Robertson, and I got interested in where are these other guys that I'm familiar with, Jim Baker, Jerry Falwell, Oral Roberts, who have all said crazy shit, and come to find out a lot of them are dead. Unfortunately, Jim Baker's still kicking. And I totally forgot about the, Falwell, it was Falwell and, the Teletubbies, and Tinky Winky, and thinking that he was a gay role model. They already live in a fantasy world where you walk or talk a little weird. Oh, that's Satan at work. It's like automatically, that's a evil person. Same here, graham crackers, a graham cracker commercial. They're like afraid of it. It's like, and I mean, that's all these people are. They just hate gay people. And this is something to jump on a bandwagon to say, hey, I mean, I don't know what really the real motivation. It seems to be just stupidity and finding problems where there really isn't any, and of course dealing with our imaginary friends, God and Satan. It's like to them this is I don't know. It scares them, I guess, or it floors me that they would even go after something like this. I think there would be better approaches to getting their message across even if anyone would believe their message.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny that this is all attached to that Million Moms thing that got completely discredited years ago, where there was not a million moms, there was like 12 moms.
Right.
It's like the Million Muslim March which had like 65 people show up.
Right. Yeah. Again, they're living in a fantasy world. They think there's a million moms who are opposed to this. You know, it's like, no, I bet you if you're lucky, you might get 24, you know, that might join into your boycott, but I don't think, I'm hoping people don't take this serious and just another one of these laughable, all those crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know these boycotts don't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, and Honeymaid even reported that they received 10 times as many positive comments as negative ones, and they put out a video response to this whole thing, which I'm putting on the website so everybody can look at it. I don't think anybody even gives a damn about these stupid fundamentalist fucks anymore. I can't think of any single company out there that has changed policy based on what the fundamentalists have said or done. These boycotts just don't work. They never have and they never will. But these people they can't get it through their tiny little heads that they're irrelevant.
Yes.
You know, all they're doing is giving extra advertising to Honeymaid, and they'll sell more graham crackers because of these people. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they're really paid advertisers that are out there trying to ramp up interest.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me a bit. Bad press is press, you know, and thank God in this case we're dealing with people on the other side, the rational ones who are supporting this company and and showing these two organizations, this American Decency Association and the American Family Association, as being irrelevant. I mean, the other big story along this lines is the CEO of Firefox or Mozilla. He stepped down. I'm seeing a lot of weird stuff, conspiracy type stuff coming up on this one, but it's more out of the religious side that it's a gay agenda to discredit this guy. But apparently he did give money to for that, what was it, Prop 8 or 9 or whatever.
Prop 8, yeah.
Yeah, Prop 8 to get rid of gay marriage. And the one website that shut out Firefox users and saying, hey, we don't condone a typical this wasn't even this was just a roadblock. I mean, this was telling people, that went to this site, hey, we don't condone Firefox's CEO's position on gay marriage, and they made a statement that it was, I believe the statement was along the lines of that we believe everybody has a right to love who they want to love. And, of course you could still go into the site with Firefox, but it was just those with Firefox got that message before going in. I thought it was a really nice way of protesting. It didn't telling Firefox users you can't use our site because you support an idiot. They were just making awareness. So the guy ends up having to step down as CEO. I don't know how fair it was. I'm kind of on the fence on that one, but I think since his donation was listed, he was listed as a donor to a group that supported Prop 8. That's what you get. And that's the way it should work. I mean, that's the way I would like to see it work. More of that kind of stuff. And of course, in this case, with the graham crackers, this is how it should work. That people are calling stupid. And, the small handful that are disgusted by this commercial, there's 10 times or 100 times or 1,000 times more in support of this company. I mean, that's the way it should work.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't give a crap about the commercial. I've never even seen the commercial until I started looking into this story. Yeah. Cause I don't watch commercials on TV. Advertising has no effect on what I buy. If I'm going to buy these graham crackers, I'm going to do it because I like these graham crackers, not because of some stupid thing that they put on TV. I think advertising is pointless.
Yeah, I don't buy based on any type of ideology or, buy these, you're all American type of, the patriot crap, you gotta buy American or you gotta buy this, you gotta buy that, you gotta buy this product because it's union made or you gotta buy, whatever. I don't go into that. I mean, I want, if there's something I want, I'm not trying to make a statement with my purchase. I want what I want,
Right. I mean, all too many people, they want to make a political statement. That's why people like Honeymaid put these commercials out there, because they're hoping that by putting these commercials out here and showing these things that have nothing to do with their graham crackers, that they're going to get more people who support this kind of a political side to buy their stuff. Well, no, that's not really what what advertising is about. I mean, granted, it's about trying to get people to buy your stuff, but, you know, if I'm going to buy graham crackers, I'm going to buy them because they taste good. If I'm going to buy this kind of food over that kind of food or this kind of product over that kind of product, it's not going to be for something that has nothing to do with the product that they happen to stick on TV because they were trying to attract attention. I think that's kind of silly. You know, I don't really give a shit what the political takes on any of these companies are. I care about the product that they put out, and that's what I buy, and I don't boycott shit. But lots and lots of people are out there who want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and jump to the next story, and we will eventually get down to that story about Pat Robertson and Mozilla.
Yes. All right. This comes from the Huffington Post Politics. GOP candidate wants to get elected to keep his daughter from learning evolution. Aaron Miller, a Republican congressional candidate in Minnesota, said a big reason he's running is to end classroom instruction on evolution, according to the Mankato Free Press. We need more GOP candidates like this to spout off the stupidity. You know, I mean, this is just, I guess kind of expect from Minnesota. We get Michelle Bachmann is from Minnesota. He doesn't want his daughter to learn truth, reality, facts, because he doesn't agree with evolution. You know, it's like, one, he hasn't been watching the news or watching what's going on in the courts or anything. You know, this is the type of stuff. I mean, again, this is just so stupid. The crap that runs out of these people, these, you know, Republican, these, you know, this backwards thinking and, you know, I guess, again, trying to tap into however Bachmann got elected up there, trying to tap into that level of stupidity. And, you know, really, this guy, again, is someone with no clue to what the real world's about, and he wants to shut down the teaching of evolution. To me, this is just the stupid that comes out of these guys' mouths. And, you know, if the Republican Party wants to run these guys, you know, more power to you, but you won't have a party in a few years because everyone's going to look at the GOP as a group of backwards, Bronze Age Neanderthals.
Well, they are.
You know, well, I know they are, but not, you know, actually it might not be a bad idea to keep a running tab on these, who's saying what, where, you know, just kind of like a scorecard, something for the show.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, the guy comes out and says Minnesota needs more religious freedom. Well, no, Minnesota doesn't need more religious freedom. It needs more common sense.
Yeah.
You know, this guy goes, he wants to be elected so he can keep his daughter from learning evolution. Well, guess what, dude? Homeschool the bitch. You know, put her in a homeschool, put her in a private school. She won't learn about evolution then. You don't have to run and fuck up everybody else. But he's not really interested in keeping his daughter from learning evolution. He wants to keep everybody from learning evolution. This isn't about his daughter. It has nothing to do with his daughter at all.
Right.
And this kind of crap just keeps coming up over and over and over. And I get really sick and tired of these morons.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, especially when he goes, you know, and this is quoting him, we should decide what is taught in our schools, not Washington, D.C. He said this on Saturday. I guess that would be right around probably last weekend. I mean, the stuff that, you know, in this case, Washington, D.C. doesn't dictate what's taught in your schools. Minnesota dictates it. I mean, this guy has absolutely no idea what he is talking about. And, I mean, I'm just hoping that people in Minnesota will realize that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But, of course, it's early in the campaign. They'll probably forget it by next week, and everyone's fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, it's like, no, I don't want you to decide what's taught in the schools. The schools don't exist to indoctrinate. They exist to teach demonstrable fact. And your particular brand of religious insanity doesn't qualify to be taught in the schools, no matter how much you wish it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why we keep going back to this national curriculum thing. I want Washington, D.C. to be dictating what is taught in every damn school in the country. It needs to be determined by experts in the field and not by some ignorant assholes in small-town America. This guy doesn't have the education or the qualifications to decide what is taught in the schools. I mean, this is the kind of shit that they're going, well, we should be teaching them in the churches because we don't actually have to know anything to teach them in the churches. Well, sorry, but schools exist to teach things that are actually true.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've argued before. I mean, like with Texas, I guess Kansas, Missouri, I think are trying something, Louisiana, Mississippi whatever. I think they voted down, but, again, it could be the Discovery Institute going from state to state and handing out literature and teaching these religious conservatives, about their thinking. I would almost say like a person like me who lives in Illinois, which the best I can tell, there's never really been a challenge to teaching evolution in schools. I don't think I've ever heard of anything within Illinois. I think Indiana has. So there's people like me, well, not like me, but, there's people in Illinois who's wondering what's the big deal? They want to teach something. To me, it's just so strange, weird. You got the states that want to do this, wants to bring in evolution or even change how history's taught, or so like with like what's going on in Texas. And then you got the rest of the United States is like they're either against it or they just don't care. And maybe that's how places like Minnesota's now. I wonder if I'm kind of curious if because of, with Bachmann and the crap that comes out of her mouth, if it isn't along the same lines, that there's the GOP is trying to insert their stupidity into government, not like they, need any help on that front, but, I don't know. To me, it's confusing why you'd want to even start doing this, because they've always been turned down. The courts have ruled against these, teaching of creationism or intelligent design. This guy must be pandering to a constituency that he thinks he can impress upon to vote for him. And I would like to think, but then again, he doesn't seem too knowledgeable anyhow on what the laws are and how things work in government, even on the basic levels. But people are buying into it, and it's just confusing. I don't understand what these people are doing, why they're doing it, and why they keep doing it, knowing what they know. It really does sound like, I'm pointing my finger at the Discovery Institute, because they seem to be the ones who have I think it's that wedge program that they have, where they're trying to find little spots where they can, where there's cracks in the wall, and they're going to try to push their agenda into it, hopefully to widen the gaps, and then perhaps the whole country turning into where they teach creationism. And that would be just such a disaster for the country economically, socially. There's all sorts of problems if we turn into this Christian, version of Islam.
Yeah. Well, when I was reading this, I was thinking, because we always get people complaining that we don't discuss why we oppose the libertarian policies. And this is a perfect example of why we oppose the whole get rid of the National Education Administration and put it at the state level. This kind of shit is exactly what would happen if we did that. If we said every different state gets to decide on their own what constitutes education and what does not, we would have 50 different versions of this bullshit going on.
Exactly.
And you can't have that. The whole purpose of having an education at all is to learn the facts, learn reality, learn what's actually out there and not somebody's stupid religious bullshit. But every time that we see somebody pop it up like this, and it, like you said, it happens in Texas and all the other southern states, it's people going, well, no, we shouldn't allow the national or the federal government to dictate what goes into education. We should do it ourselves. But these guys show that they don't have a goddamn understanding of reality. Yeah. And they will throw in all kinds of really stupid, weird shit. If you did that in like Utah, you'd get all kinds of Mormonism thrown into the schools. And you get all kinds of Christianity. And if there was ever a state with a large-scale Islamic population, you'd get Islam being taught in the schools. Is this something that we as a society want? Hell no!
It is the biggest mistake we could make. And going with, on the libertarian rant here, if you're doing it with the schools, you're doing it with every other government program. And having the states, run their own OSHAs. They want, getting each state to run its own health inspections. I And actually that's the way it works now. Every state has their own, set of rules. There's a few federal guidelines they gotta follow, but in effect, each state is put, their own rules on top of it. Illinois, you can get away with a lot more than you can get away with in New York. And I'm sure if given the chance, and you got a state like, I'm gonna pick on North Carolina because it's a big, hog farming, factory farming state. You get a lobby in there to take away some of the requirements for, hog farmers. And since I don't know the exact numbers, but I think because North Carolina is one of the major providers of pork products. I mean, having a third or even a half of our food supply that we depend on all of a sudden become tainted or something happening because that state has relaxed its health rules. Again, there's so many disasters that can happen out of this. Keeping the federal government involved with food safety, with education, getting them more involved in education, getting OSHA, worker safety, stuff like that. Getting them more involved will probably be a lot better than having 50 different set of rules, 50 plus if you count territories that, Puerto Rico, whatever, however the rules work down there. Having something like that would be just so disastrous. And, I don't see anything good coming out of this. And this is a basic tenet of libertarianism.
Yeah, exactly. What happens when you have southern states who decide, well, they just don't like the civil rights laws in this country and they want to go back to having slavery? What do you do then? With what you said there, I don't necessarily think that the federal government needs to become more involved with education or anything else. I think that they need to become more effectively involved. Because they're throwing an awful lot of money at it, but they're not really getting anything out of it because they're not actually trying to be effective and efficient. They're just trying to, it's the federal government. We know they're fucked up. But just because they're fucked up does not mean that we need to take it and move it to a state government, which is just as fucked up, or to the local governments. Just imagine what would happen if, individual cities or individual counties could set educational standards.
Yeah.
God, how screwed up is that going to be? And then what happens? Well, what happens if your kid moves from one county to the next county where the standards are completely different? That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, even just transferring the grades and stuff like that. If you're coming from a school that has very high standards in their education, you move to a state that has low. I mean, does that automatically boost your, put your kid 2 or 3 grades ahead? As a kid coming in from, who's in 10th grade in Texas, coming to a school in Illinois and finding out he has to be left behind 3 years because Texas wasn't teaching anything. Parents themselves will become livid that, well, this is the way we did it in Texas. Well, you're not in Texas anymore. You're in Illinois. You're getting a real education up here.
Yeah.
And it'll be just such a mess. And I'm sure being litigious, types here, man, lawyers would be having a field day with it. I mean, that's probably why, some libertarians are into it because they're lawyers and they can make a fortune out of the anarchy that'll come out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was kind of thinking when you were talking before about putting like social programs, et cetera, under the control of the states. What happens when you get into the Deep South and they decide that, well, welfare is only for Christians? And so if you're not a Christian or if you're not willing to go to church, then they're just not going to pay you anything. And, there's all kinds of ways that this can go completely and totally wrong. What do we do then?
Right.
Do we think for 1 second that Tennessee would not pull some shit like that, like the Salvation Army, where they'll only give you food if you're willing to listen to a sermon, or they'll only put you up for the night if you're willing to claim that you're a Christian? Do we think that would not happen right off the bat? I know it would. Yeah. I know it would.
Well, in a way, even without any type of oversight, I mean, the kind of stuff does happen. I was listening to Cognitive Dissonance. I just got caught up on their shows. And there was this person talking about, I forget, I think they're in North Carolina, actually, Asheville. And, they've been organizing a lot of charities, charity work. And she would go down, to the locals and, hey, we're collecting money for this and, for this or that or whatever, for the homeless, for, the kids at school to get, lunches or breakfasts, things like that. And these people would say, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Come back in a couple days and I'll have stuff for you and all that kind of stuff. Well, she would show up 2 days later and the guy would do the research, find out that this was an atheist organization and decides not to support it. That's the way people are. And they're, it's like, okay, charity, isn't it Christian to give your money to the less fortunate? And of course, it has to be a Christian organization to take Christian money, but that whole attitude. And, so you really think that a Christian would give to a Christian organization that would end up giving it to an atheist? Hell no. They'll let them starve to death. And there's nothing you would be able to do about it because you've handed all those rules over to the state, and the state is probably now pretty much infiltrated with the religious types or whatever is, allowing it to happen. And you're pretty much screwed. You're either going to have to move out of the state or, I don't know, grab a rifle and start shooting. I mean, that's the only thing that can happen. And that's my attitude toward, at least on this part of libertarianism.
Yeah, well, I mean, I look at it, I don't care if Christians want to give to Christian charities and atheists want to give to atheist charities. Yeah. It's individual choice, and that's fine, as long as everybody gets to operate the same way, everybody gets the same breaks, everybody gets whatever.
Right.
But let's be honest, I mean, the only reason Christians want to give to Christian charities is because they're counting on the Christian charities pushing Christianity to the people that they're giving money to and help to. Whereas most atheist organizations, they just want to help the people. They don't give a shit about stuffing an ideology down somebody's throat. They're just there to help. Right. They're not there to teach them anything. I don't know of any atheist organization that's handing out the God delusion to every single person that gets a sandwich.
Right.
Christians do that.
Yeah. But on the same token, though, is once you create a legal basis behind it, I don't see anything good coming out of it. When it's like it is now where, you can make your choice. Yeah, that's great. You can do what you want. You start leaving things up to the state or even the local communities where they actually make it. You have to use a Christian charity, or you got to use, something Christian, you got to use a church or whatever. Cause that's what will happen. They'll pass laws to, okay, if you want to be a charity, you have to have a religious affiliation. It's really easy to get through now because you don't have the whole state, or you don't have the whole country looking down on it, or you don't have a judiciary that's going to call it illegal or unconstitutional. If you have this libertarian system, everything's fair game. So all of a sudden, the state of, I'll pick a state, South Carolina. Let's pick on South Carolina. I want to make, Christianity the state religion. The only way you can be a charity is if you were a Christian church, and to receive charity, you have to be Christian. I bet you that those laws can easily pass in that state. And then with the feds not getting involved, when someone says, hey, I'm an atheist, I can't get this program, that's discrimination. You don't have a judiciary that's going to say, well, you're right. The Constitution says, equal right, whatever. The states have to do this, and you're pretty much screwed. And
yeah.
That is really the problem I would have, because the concept of small government or no government, you still have to have a government, and they're going to work it the way they want to believe. And I know that there's some libertarians who are atheists, and they're skeptics and so on. I'll admit that, and there may be a little bit of an offset there in the voting, but still, you get that going, you have that kind of precedence going. Yeah, it's very hard to break.
Right. But you have to look at, like, the Christians would be thinking, well, we are the majority in this country, and therefore, in most places, we would get to impose our will on everybody else. But, like, look at New York. There's a sizable Hasidic Jewish community there who has proven that they have no problem stomping on everybody else. Any Christians in that area would be forced to live under Hasidic Jewish laws.
Yeah.
I'm sure they wouldn't be happy about that, and they'd be screaming bloody murder that they're not in charge. Well, sorry, that's the way that it works. You'd be under Mormon laws in Utah. You'd be under the Hasidic Jews in New York City. You'd be under whatever, wherever. And you wouldn't necessarily be in charge. And if you want these laws to be true, where the states or the cities or the counties or whatever gets to decide what everybody does, well, then you got to take the good with the bad. and not sit around and bitch and whine and moan that, oh no, we're being discriminated against, because we know that's what they'd claim. You know, you can't discriminate against others and then complain when others can discriminate against you. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
All right. Well, I think I've done that one to death.
Pretty much.
All right. Let's do another one.
The Casey County School District in Tennessee has allowed people to pass out Christian literature at 3 of their elementary schools. As a result, the ACLU and an atheist organization fought for the right to do the exact same. And surprisingly, they won, which is not a good thing. And the reason why I say that is because it's probably a really bad idea to pass out any type of literature like that at a public school. Now, just to be 100% specific, they are not allowed to hand the literature to each student, but they are allowed to leave the literature at the school. So if a student does find it appealing, he or she can pick it up and read it. Keep in mind, again, this is an elementary school, or 3 elementary schools within this district.
So I'm split on this. Obviously, it's unconstitutional, so I'm going to have to vote no, right? That's clear enough. You're right about that, Anna. On the other hand, I love the idea of a free marketplace of ideas. You want to put the Bible and I'll put up facts? Let's have at it, Hoss. If the Christians think they're going to win on that, I wish you good luck.
Right. And so, look, I consider myself atheist, and I agree with their message, but I don't want them to pass out the literature on campus. I certainly don't want Christian literature, Jewish literature. I don't care, any religion. I think that the way that you fight is by really giving the students facts, by teaching them science and teaching them about evolution, things that have scientific evidence backing it up, right? You don't necessarily have to try to indoctrinate kids to believe in what you believe. As long as you educate them, they will come to the right conclusion on their own.
After the Gideons were allowed to distribute Bibles to 3 elementary schools in Tennessee, the tri-state freethinkers won the right to distribute books on humanism to students, and this pissed off a lot of religious parents. Big surprise there. Some threatened to keep their schools home the day the books were to be available. I mean, this goes right back to this. Well, when you're in charge and when you get your way, you're all happy, but you know, when somebody else is in charge and gets to do things you don't like, you get to sit around and scream religious discrimination and bloody murder. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
It's the same stuff. The rules only apply to them, or, you know, I'm right and you're wrong. That's the general attitude. What more can you comment on? It's the same bullshit. You know, my God is better than your God, or your my belief trumps your lack of belief. You know, my morals is better than your morals. You know, it's the same. You know, the same song and dance, and, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you want to put Bibles in the school, you know, I think there should be books on humanism, or you could put the Torah, the Quran, hand them all out. You know, it's like, you know, the schools cannot endorse any religion or non-religion. That's the law of the land. But again, you know, we're talking about places that they don't get it. They don't understand what the law is, or, you know, they
don't care.
They don't really care. So.
Yeah, because I was thinking, you know, what happens when the Muslims come in and want to hand out Qurans, and the Mormons want to hand out the Book of Mormon, and Hindus want to hand out the Vedas or whatever else? These people are all going to scream their goddamn heads off. And that's really the problem with this nonsense. You either have to allow everybody, or you have to allow nobody. And usually, you got people who reject all of their faiths and ideas because it gets in the way of their own, but they want special treatment for their own beliefs. I don't think the Gideons should have been able to hand out Bibles to students, you know? There's no need to hand out either book. The school isn't about warring philosophy, it's about teaching facts. You know, if the Gideons want to hand out the Bible, why don't they do it in front of churches? It's not like anybody in a church has ever read the damn thing to begin with.
Right.
They need it more than the schools do. But it's all about pushing your ideology. It's all about pushing your beliefs on people who don't need it or want it, and whining about it when somebody else figures they get to do the same thing. It's all about Christian privilege, and that is a massive problem in this country.
Oh God, yeah. I don't know. I've been kind of trying to dig into some stuff, and I love how a lot of times they pull out, or that idea about you need religion to have a moral basis, and I've seen stories that I've passed up to put on the show, but there seems to be like this constant, well, if you don't have religion, you can't have a moral basis. And I'm like, well, that's not true. I mean, all humans have some form of empathy. I mean, you can't just,
not all of them.
well,
I mean, we do have sociopaths, but, you know.
Right. But, you know, it is it's one of those traits that we have traced since we were hunter-gatherers, you know, 20,000, 30,000 years ago. You know, there is a kind of, you know, this is one of those traits long before there was anything codified on the moral standpoint. You know, this was just something we did to survive into where we are today. And, you know, I mean, sure, there are those who will take advantage of it, or they will, like when I learned how Dawkins explains how that would work, you know, I guess through game theory, they figured things out. You know, basically, even those who do work against the moral or any type of, the better good that we would call morals. And, though it is more, I guess, like he said, it's more ingrained, as long as that each generation recognizes that, you know, this is the proper things, you know, that's really what pushed us and really allowed us to survive in the world, on this planet. And, you know, and it really bothers me that these people have taken, well, you gotta have a religion to have a moral, or to have morals. And no, if you are human, you got morals. I mean, it's all built in. I think they don't like the idea because it's in our, you know, it's part of our evolution. It's the good traits that let us, you know, move forward generation by generation. I mean, that's evolution in a nutshell. And that probably bothers them, that what they're calling morals is really a trait of, or, you know, one of the survivable traits of evolution. And that's what, you know, and puts us where we're at. But then they'll say, well, yeah, you gotta have religion to have morals. No, you don't. So when you get, you know, the Christians who try to pass their, you know, Bibles, you know, all the, you know, these Gideons and all these people trying to get their Bibles out, or I'm sure the Jews, the Hindus, the Buddhists, you know, they're getting their ideas across, this kind of narrow-mindedness that you need this Bible to be a real person, to understand, or you need this book to be a good human, where in fact everything is built in. You don't need a book to tell you if you're good or bad.
Right. Yeah, well, while I'm not familiar with the book that the humanists were putting out at the schools, it looks to me like a generally non-threatening book, which, let's be honest, if it had been reversed, and if it had been the atheists putting out books the first time, you'd better believe that the Christians would not be putting out Bibles, they'd be putting out attack books.
Right.
You know, and I've seen people who suggested putting out anti-religious books or Bibles with all the worst parts highlighted and all that stuff. And I think that's really a bad idea, because we're not really out there to attack Christianity. Christianity is its own worst enemy. Right. It's dying because of itself. It's not dying because somehow, you know, humans have just realized, holy shit, this is all bullshit. It's dying because Christians and a lot of Christian churches and all that stuff are generally assholes.
Right. Well, I was saying you're saying it's a non-threatening book, but I think in Tennessee, any type of book is threatening to anybody down there.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so I mean, that's book learning. We can't be having that.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, in general, I'd rather not see any of these books. You know, if you guys want to do something off campus someplace, if you want to do it in your churches, if you want to do it at the library, whatever, I'm cool with that. You know, you can hand out your books to anybody you want. You can have a big old bonfire with your books. I don't care.
Yeah.
But school's not the place for it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind, you know, a flyer, you know, if someone passed out a flyer, say, hey, you know, if you want a Bible, come and get it. You know, we'll talk about it, stuff like that. I don't really mind that, as long as you're not handing out the book. I don't even mind it if they say, hey, after school, you know, come to room 101, you know, and if you're interested, we'll talk Bible. And, if the atheist wants room 102 to talk, about their stuff, they get it, you know, but it's not where it's within the school setting, where you're, you know, where the school's not endorsing it, where the teachers or administration, parents are not endorsing it. If the kids want to say, hey, you want to learn about the Bible, come on in. If you want to learn about evolution, come here, you know, whatever. I have no real issue with that. I mean, some people do, because it's, you know, still government property, taxpayer money, stuff like that. But, you know, as long as it's not part of the school curriculum, that the school's not endorsing it. As long as the school's not endorsing or trying to promote or make it anything mandatory, everything else is good.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let them talk about whatever they want to talk about on their own time. But when they're in school, nope, you're there to learn about reality. And carrying around your Bible doesn't do that. That's not a textbook. Sorry, try again.
Right.
All right, well, you want to go on to your next story?
Yes, this is a nice one. And this is coming from Catholic Online. The Internet causing people to lose their religion. Scientists wonder why. Yeah, the Internet may not be good for religion.
Imagine that.
Yeah, Americans are losing their religion, and according to one researcher, the Internet is to blame. About 18% of Americans now claim no religious affiliation. This comes from the Byline of Los Angeles. The Internet may be making people into agnostics or atheists faster than any other influence in history. A new study shows that 18% of Americans now claim no religious affiliation, up from 8% in 1990. That's about 25 million people. The answer is information. People are learning. People are able to get the information instead of having to ask questions. You're questioning your religion, you talk to your priest. What the priest is going to do? He's going to try to tell you, it's just a crisis of faith. If you read this passage and do these prayers, you'll be fine. That's the information you got. Now you can go anonymously into the ether and look up. I want to know about, what's this deal with the two creation stories? You can find articles, and it's not even just, finding the reality or truth. I mean, you're gonna get all sides, and you can decide, you can think. I think that is the power of the Internet. It lets you think, it lets you explore, it lets you understand things. I'm always tapping the Internet I come across a word I don't understand. I'll go type it into the Internet. Google might give me a definition, or I'll get a whole page full of various definitions and stuff like that. Oh, that's what that means. If I have a question about thermodynamics, I can go to Wikipedia and get a section there, or, a name pops up. I mean, who the hell's this guy? And type in the name. Oh, that's kind of neat. He did this, and, with the Internet. And there's the downside too, because not only is there good information, there's bad information. I mean, there's, you will find InfoWars, Alex Jones and his nutcases, the Stormfront, that's the KKK's, basic, their presence on the Internet. I mean, whether you're into these things, you'll find that information. And, people are able to find, I don't believe in God, right? I have issues with this. You can find both points. You can find people who believe in God and explaining, well, this is what they say. And you can find those who don't believe in God and says, well, this is what it means. And you can, if you can think logically, or critically, you'll find yourself probably becoming if not atheist, an agnostic,
Yeah. Well, the Internet allows people to look up facts very quickly and do research very easily. And religion really only does well when people are kept ignorant. That's why it did so well when people couldn't read and they had to rely on the priests and the scribes. That's what happened when they couldn't read the Bible, because they had to listen to somebody who could. The more intelligent people get, the more available information becomes. Religion dies. What's the saying? The Internet is where religions go to die. It's very, very true. And actually, I've heard that it's 21% of Americans now that say religion has no serious place in their lives. We're not just talking people who aren't part of an organized religion. We're talking about people who said, religion has nothing to do with me. I have no interest in it, nothing. I want nothing to do with it. These are people who are pretty much atheists, not agnostics, atheists. So, okay, 25 million atheists in this planet or in this country, and the number is going up very, very, very fast.
And that's a good thing. That means people are thinking. Hopefully as the old school dies out, these numbers will accelerate exponentially.
Oh, and they are.
Yep.
And I think it's hysterical that large numbers of people who are leaving religion and becoming something else, but these Catholics are going, well, they're not necessarily joining new atheists. Well, okay. They join atheism, but they're not new atheists. Okay, so they're quiet and they're not, loud and obnoxious like the new atheists are. Okay, they're still atheists. How is that any different? What does that mean? They're trying to go, well, they're leaving us. They're leaving every church out there. They're just not joining our enemies. Well, yeah, they are. I'm sorry. They may be quiet because they were quiet when they were religious. That doesn't mean that they still believe the bullshit you believe. That means they're atheists.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think in a way I can maybe empathize with them a little bit because, because it does sound like for those who've been like their whole lives immersed in religion, suddenly realizing, this is all bullshit. And, so where do I go from here? It's kind of a good thing they're not, becoming rank and file new atheists or atheist plusers. Become an atheist first before you start looking at those others, or at least understand what it is about not believing in God, and actually even understand why don't you believe in God? That's kind of the cement, I think. Even, when I was younger, it's like I didn't believe in God, but it was like, but what if I'm wrong, type of thing. And it took a little while to say, you know what? Yeah, there's no God. Everything makes sense, everything comes together, how everything's interlocked. And as you go along, that cement gets harder and harder. That's maybe the best way to describe it, because you will get the various, from both sides, you'll get I won't use the names, but you'll there's people who are going to want you to, stuff that's totally unrelated. But anyhow, oh man, I'm going off topic again.
I agree with you, but the reality is that there's nothing really different between an atheist and a new atheist. It's not like different brands of Christianity. New atheists are the same goddamn thing as old atheists, except they're not afraid to open their mouths. They live in a society where they're allowed to open their mouths and talk about things that have been considered taboo in the past, and to suggest things that would have been social suicide in the past. That's the only difference. A new atheist like Richard Dawkins is no different than an old atheist like somebody not Richard Dawkins from the past. Right. There's no difference. It's just Richard Dawkins has the ability to open his mouth.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
they're not complaining about people becoming atheists. They just don't want them to open their mouths and say, hey, we're atheists and it's okay. And your religion is bullshit. We left you.
I can understand that. Because this is coming from a Catholic website. So, they don't want you, I'm sure, with all the problems they're having and finding out that their people are leaving,
they don't want people to come out and say why they left. They want you to, they don't really care if you go and become an atheist and stop being a Catholic, but they just don't want you to explain all the problems with Catholicism.
Right.
I don't know. Well, let's go and do something different. Maybe we shouldn't just be attacking religion. Maybe we should be attacking irrationality. In England, it is more likely that a person will believe in ghosts than it is that they will believe in God. It seems that 10% of British think that they have supernatural powers, and even more believe in psychics and other woo. Why can't people just be rational? It's really hard because I want to go, yeah, it's great that they're not religious, but they're still irrational. That's still a problem.
Yes. We were supposed to do a thing on ghosts last week for the Irreverent Skeptics, and I've been kind of looking at how these ghost hunters do their thing. And
fraud?
Borderline. Very, they're skirting the line.
Oh, it's not even borderline sometimes.
Well, yes.
There are lots of places where it's just out and out fraud.
Right.
And then the rest of it is just, well, look at this thing that we saw and we're going to explain it in a certain way so it seems to support our case.
Well, see, the thing is, I was looking at, I found a couple sites. Well, actually, there's hundreds of them. There's all these little ghost hunter groups out there. Apparently, for about, I was pricing them out. You could buy a ghost hunting kit for about, $800, maybe $900. That'll give you the, infrared camera. It'll get you a recorder, a digital recorder, a EVP meter, what else did it in the kit? What was some of the other? But for about $800, I think some of the kits were. You can buy them all individually, and you can buy extra parts for it and stuff. And you could become a ghost hunter. I've seen some of the forms. I found some of the forms that they would fill out, when they do an investigation, quote, I'm air quoting now. And it looks sciencey. I mean, you take your baseline readings, you go into the house, you take temperature readings, you run the EVP, see what, EMF readings, the EVP readings, all this kind of stuff. And, then you sit back and you wait for the ghost to show up. And that's where the fun begins, because then you start seeing things like, had a funny feeling, it got cold in the room, it did, this, I had this feeling of dread, all touchy-feely type talk, it's like, yeah, you're gonna get that when you're sitting in a room with no light, someone opens a door somewhere, and a cool breeze or whatever comes through, whatever, in the winter you get a blast of cold, and it's like, I'm looking at this and it's like, well, this doesn't mean anything. This is almost like, what some of these people say they have a vision, and, they believe in God or God tells them to do something. It's the same sort of stuff. And it's actually, I'm beginning to think that like some of these ghost hunters are just replacing, I don't know what their religious backgrounds are, if they still are religious people, but if they're atheists or agnostic or whatever whatever they might be, they're still kind of behaving like they're religious. Still, it's all touchy-feely. It's all impression. It's all, kind of a fantasy. But what I get from the reports, they're not doing anything real science. They're not running, they got the meters, which, they're handhelds. So you can't be where stuff is happening. If there's really is a ghost, you're halfway across the house. You're not there reading when this thing actually happens. You don't know if it's just a figment of your imagination or maybe a LSD flashback. Who knows what is causing, this vision, and you took no readings of it, to even prove that it even existed. You just have if you have the camera on there and doesn't show it, whatever. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, so it really doesn't sound much different than religion to me.
It's not.
Yeah. And this is actually part of what one of my concerns is, that while we abandon organized religion, are we substituting it with something? And this might be one of them. I mean, Scientology, I think, has been one where we substitute one religion for another. In the case here, you're substituting one set of beliefs for another set of beliefs. I mean, you're still kind of believing in an afterlife if you're believing in ghosts and paranormal, because that's all connected. If you're dealing with, trying to deal with demons, again, this is just a replacement for religion.
Right. Well, I mean, the reality is that whether you're talking about religion or ghosts or any of this other woo, you're still talking about the argument from ignorance. None of these people have actually demonstrated that the thing that they think exists is actually real. They will run around and say, oh, look at all these readings we have. What caused them? Oh, we're going to claim ghosts, but since we can't actually prove that ghosts exist, you have no idea what caused that. The same thing happens with gods. People have experience with gods, and then they go, oh, well, we had an experience with God. How do you know it was God? Faith. I don't know. I just do. That's really the problem. Having an EVP session, having a cold spot in the house, having whatever, doesn't actually prove that there was a ghost there. It proves that you had some sound you can't identify, and you had a cold spot that you can't identify. Not identifying it is not the same as proving that something you can't prove is actually real. And that's the same thing as religion.
Yeah.
And this is nothing new. I mean, I went back and I was looking at some of the old paperwork I have from the 80s and the 90s, stuff I had on mimeograph and all that. And it's the same basic kind of studies that were coming out then, that people who tended to believe in religion or tended to have that kind of a mindset also believed in all kinds of ridiculous woo. I bet you the statistics are still about the same. I don't think anything's really changed since then, because people still want to believe in something that makes them feel good. They're not really interested in reality. They're interested in just, this is something that makes me feel good. I want to feel like there's life after death. Therefore, I'm going to believe in gods or ghosts or whatever. And that somehow makes me not so afraid. Well, dude, being afraid, not being afraid doesn't make a damn bit of difference when it comes to reality. Reality trumps all that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if this isn't, again, in some cases it seems new agey, because I think I've seen some of them who will actually try to do an elimination, and they'll bring in crystals and stuff like that. And like, my God, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like the gullible leading the gullible. And then again, it could be like some of these, I haven't really watched the ghost hunting shows. I've seen like little bits and pieces, and I'm like, what the hell am I watching? That's literally, I'm thinking, what the hell am I watching? It's like these guys are running around in the dark, and, you got these, these blurry pictures, and they always do, what was that? What was that? I heard something. It's over there. And then they start running, and, it's like, what are you guys doing? It's like, it's basically just running around, whatever. And I'm beginning to think in some cases, they'll go into a castle or they go into a hotel. I wonder if that's just the owner of that property trying to, legitimize his story that there's ghosts there. And then of course people want to see the ghosts. So all these people should, it's like to create a tourist trap. It's all a scam. People will buy into these scams. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's ghost hunting or if it's, alternative medicines, the new agey stuff,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like last night I caught some stupid alien show on the Science Channel. I'm sorry guys, aliens are not science. Let's try to get rid of that shit, okay? But they were doing the exact same thing. Same scam, different thing. This kind of thing really makes me hate people. I mean, I run into these people everywhere, and I seriously don't want anything to do with them, religious or not. I mean, it's like, it's a serious gateway to misanthropy. It makes me not want to communicate with anybody outside the skeptical community anymore because people are just too damn stupid to be breathing. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about religion or if you're talking about Bigfoot or aliens or ghosts or demons or whatever. There's somebody who claimed they had, they found a chupacabra in Texas and it's like, it's a raccoon, but they're not interested in talking about the reality. They don't want to just like take it out and have it tested. No, it's got to be a chupacabra. What's wrong with the human species? That's really what I'm getting to is I think there's just something fundamentally wrong with humanity as a whole, and 90% of the people probably should go out and die, and maybe we'll be stuck with 10% who are actually rational.
Right. I wonder. I mean, I really do wonder because, I don't know if it's that mentality, like when there's a car accident, you have to turn and watch, type of thing. What made Jerry Springer popular? I don't understand it, but it was like watching rednecks beat up on each other seems to be, that's funny, or whatever, or it's sad. The hoarding shows, the shows about hoarders. I don't know why I watch those things. I used to watch them quite a bit, and it's like, I'm just buying into this. You're on the outside and you're seeing these people who are really, they're mental cases. These are people who really need mental help. And, how are they getting it? They put them on TV. It's like, no, you need to get these people to psychiatrists or get them something. I mean, if you ever watch those shows, I mean, these people are really, they are crazy. I mean,
oh, sure.
I mean, I'm not, sure there's a PC version, but I'm saying, no, these people are fucking out of their minds. And they have no clue that they're doing something wrong. I mean, this lady in Illinois who, had all these animals and they were dying. They were dead animals and it wasn't her fault, or when you try to take the animals away, she'd freak out and start yelling, and then the families, these are people with real problems, and, it's like, but I'm watching this. And then you realize, I'm watching this. I'm watching a freak show. It's like, okay, so maybe there's that aspect that we either, we want to be the freak show or we want to watch the freak show,
Oh, sure. Well, that lady, you should have called the Backstreet Boys for her. She could have brought all the animals back to life.
Yeah, yes. Oh God, yeah. But
yeah, I mean, I don't understand, and I always ask for solutions because it doesn't make any sense to recognize a problem if you're not going to actually try to solve the problem. But if you can't solve the problem, then what do we do? If you have all these crazy people who believe in imaginary friends in the sky And we can't talk about that. We can't tell them that they're crazy, and we can't disagree with them, and we can't argue with them. Or the people who believe in ghosts, or believe in alien abductions, or believe in all this other nonsense. But it's somehow politically incorrect to tell these people that they're out of their fucking gourds and that they need some professional help. How do we improve society? Because that's what's hurting society today. Yeah, I think that honestly we would have a much better society today, a much better world, if we could do away with all this irrational nonsense. I mean, holy shit, if we had never had to deal with Christianity and the Dark Ages and all this other crap and all the murders that Christianity committed upon scientists and all that stuff, where would we be today? You know, we'd probably have multiple space colonies. You know, we'd be on multiple planets. Yeah. We would have done away with most disease. We would have been a lot farther ahead than we are today. And it's great that we're where we are today, but Jesus, I want to be better. And these people are keeping humanity from being better.
Oh, yeah. And it's not really so much, like this lady in Illinois. It's the people who encourage it, or they, I think if you could get rid of the top, you get rid of the Jerry Falwells or the Pat Robertsons, the Ray Comforts and the Ken Hams, you can get rid of these people. If you can get rid of the Bachmans and the Perrys and you name it, you can get rid of these people and somehow replace them with, even if you could get like a rational Bachman or a rational Ken Ham, like a Ken Ham who says, yeah, I kind of believe in, there might be something to creation, but the evidence still doesn't support it, type of thing. Something like that. I mean, I think we'd be miles ahead, but it's like, the book says 6,000 years and, the flood happened 4,000 years ago. So it's like, and that's it. You don't question it. And the people who follow Ken Ham say, that's right. The world's only 6,000 years old. The flood happened 4,000 years ago. And I believe in Ken Ham. That's the mindset. That's what we're dealing with. If we can get rid of the Ken Hams, or at least get a Ken Ham who could maybe be somewhat rational and say, well, if you really want to make creation into a science, come on, do something science, and saying, hey, yeah, this is our train of evidence. Let's see what we could do with it. Of course you can't. We know that, but I'm just using that as a kind of a metaphor. Like if they can, if you want to call it science, do some science and explain to your, the people who follow you, hey, this is where it's taking us. This is what we believe, but, because we got problems with, carbon dating, we got problems with trees that are older than 6,000 years, we might need to, whatever. But to be rational, but these guys aren't. I mean, they're not, and they'll never will be. They're dead set on 6,000 years old, or, it's like 6,000 year planet. There's a thing coming up here about, the geocentric universe. Somehow another one of these what is it? What was the one where everyone, the last movie with Ben Stein? Expelled.
Yeah.
Well, there's gonna be another like Expelled. There's a guy who believes that the Earth is the center of the universe and everything revolves around it, and he managed to get a bunch of scientists on the show. Was that Kate Mulgrew?
Yeah.
Got her to narrate it. And of course they're coming out and saying that they totally misrepresented what the movie was about,
just like Ben Stein did.
Just like Ben Stein and what Ray Comfort did to totally misrepresented everything he's done. And they can't even be honest about they're crazy. They gotta trick people. I'd like to say education, and I think that's the key here is education, getting education, teaching people to think critically. Whether you can do that or not, that's the mystery to me.
Yeah, well, I think the other problem with getting rid of all the crazies is you've got an awful lot of people out there who support the crazies and who defend the crazies, not because they believe the same thing as the crazies, but because they've got their own crazy that they want to believe in, and they figure that they can't go out and actually criticize anybody else because otherwise somebody can come and criticize them. And that's why you get all these accommodationists who don't want us to criticize the the Christians or the theists because, holy shit, if somebody goes after them, then somebody might come after you and your stupid beliefs. And the goal here should not be for everybody to compartmentalize these stupid little beliefs. It should be for everybody to get rid of these stupid beliefs. But they're not interested in that.
You know, I'm beginning to think it's just, hey, I want to win. I want to win the argument. I want to win the day. I mean, Ken Ham wants to, I think it's really what it's coming down to is they want to win. I mean, I'm still, my head is still trying to wrap around the idea is the only reason why you're a theist, why you believe in God, is that he can win an argument. That's not how it works, motherfuckers. It's, you know, you gotta get the right information, the correct information, you know, the correct facts, there seems to be a difference between truth and fact, but, you know.
No, there isn't.
Well, there seems to be a semantic in there somewhere, but but truth, facts, reality, all that kind of stuff, that's what we need to be gunning for. It's not about winning or losing. It's getting to the facts, getting to the truth, getting to the facts.
Well, I mean, I agree with that entirely. Unfortunately, a lot of people, especially theists, tend to think that facts get in the way of their beliefs. So they really aren't very interested in the facts. They aren't interested in what they can prove. They aren't interested in any evidence. They just want to believe what makes them happy, and then anything that disagrees with them has to be wrong because their happiness is paramount.
Right.
I don't know. That kind of thing, it just makes me crazy, and it's why I've really given up trying to debate any of these people, because you don't actually get anywhere. All you do is you go round and round and round in circles with people who go, well, I'm just right, and there's nothing you can say that'll prove me wrong because I'm just right, and I just want to bash them in the head with a frickin' brick because they're painfully stupid. And I'm sick and tired of painfully stupid. I really am. And it's not just religion, it's all kinds of stuff. And I'm sure you feel the same way regarding conspiracy theorists and all that. Yeah. They're just painfully stupid, and you can't debate these people because they're not interested in debate. All they're going to do is cling to their beliefs.
They'll just claim victory, you know, hey, I won the argument, you know, it's like, no, you know, that's, they're right and
they're right.
wrong.
Yep, that's it. All right, well, why don't we get to that, Pat Robertson story we started out on?
Yeah, this is from Newsmax. I'm kind of wondering about this site, but, I did do some other looking, Pat Robertson, if Mozilla CEO was wrong, then God Almighty is a hater. Okay, that's from Pat Robertson. The Reverend Pat Robertson rebuked about Mozilla for forcing Chief Executive Officer Brendan Eich to resign after gay dating website called for a boycott of its Firefox web browser, Medialite reported. Eich came under attack for a personal donation in 2008 to a California group campaigning for Proposition 8, which sought to ban single-sex marriage. And, of course, Robertson, here's the man at Mozilla, Eich, who had given $1,000 about 6 or 7 years ago, 1,000, to a proposition. And someone came around and said, will you contribute? And he said, here's $1,000, get off my back. I mean, that's probably all it amounted to. When I read this and I started looking at some of the other articles, because a lot of them are just a repeat of the same thing. I was trying to find something a little bit more. Actually, in a weird way, this seems to be been repeated over and over again. But there's, oddly enough, Robertson, he's just assuming that someone came around, give me $1,000, and, the guy says, oh yeah, here's 1,000, go away kid type of attitude. No. By sending in that $1,000, he got himself on a list as a major contributor because you have to file that, anything over, I don't know what the limit is in California. I don't know if there's I couldn't find anything if 1,000 is the base limit or anything over 1,000 you have to report. But that's what happened. He's on a list. He contributed to this thing. Now, if he wasn't paying attention to who he was giving the money to, that's his problem. This is his punishment for being stupid. But then Robertson trying to defend this guy, again, it's to be expected, Robertson's been pretty, defending the guy. I mean, I guess it's to be expected. The guy's, anyone who's opposed to gay marriage is a friend of Pat Robertson. Pat Robertson's never been known to, say anything sensible. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't really give a shit if he gave money to Prop 8 back in 2008. That has nothing to do with his job as the CEO of Mozilla.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care what his personal opinions are. I don't care who he gives money to. I don't care about any of that shit. He can be a racist bigot for all I care. And so long as he does his job and makes money for Mozilla and leads the company right, he shouldn't have to give up his job for that. You know, everybody in the country should not have to worry about who they talk to or what they do in order to keep their jobs. And this kind of thing is just getting way too prevalent, where it's not about if you're a good CEO or it's not about if you're a good employee. It's about what you say to somebody in a bar 15 years ago that you suddenly get yourself fired for. That really makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
You know, if he wants to be an anti-gay person, I don't care. I don't care if he wants to be anti-gay, knock himself out. I don't give a shit one about that with regard to his position with Mozilla. Yeah. I might think he's a dick. People can be dicks and CEOs at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you know, I guess the thing what got me is he was the FCO and then, got promoted or got voted as CEO. When he was FCO, this was known when he was FCO. This didn't just come up once he got the job. So it's like, so I don't know if they're just targeting CEO, you know, just because he became CEO that made him a target. I mean, that could be it. If he stayed in the background and did being the chief financial officer or whatever he was doing before, none of this would have happened. I think once he became CEO.
Oh, I'm sure it would have. But, well, I mean, he became CEO and he was now big prey instead of, you know, being a little fish in a big pond. You know, and it wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference if it wasn't for the whole social justice crowd going, we have to go after these people who don't agree with us. You know, it's not like he made Mozilla donate money to this cause. It's out of his own damn pocket. And I am so fucking sick of these stupid social justice assholes who think that they get to control everybody who has opinions that they don't like. Well, fuck you. You don't like Mozilla? You don't want Firefox? Cool. Don't buy it. By all means. But going after crap like this, fuck you up the ass. I'm so sick of this stupid boycott bullshit.
Yeah. It's one of those where you get kind of tore between, you know, I mean, I'm kind of okay with them pointing out, you know, here's a guy who, this is what he did. I'm kind of cool with the idea of, you know, you find something wrong, go get it. I mean, I don't fault these, what's that site? What's this? I'm trying to remember the site.
Yeah, I don't remember offhand. But what difference does it make, really? Are they going after every single person who donated $1,000 to Prop 8? Or were they doing this because it was a convenient target that they could easily exploit?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, on one hand, doing this, I don't see a problem with it. I think some of the circumstances, I think, should be brought into question. Why go after him now when he was CEO of Firefox, I guess, is a free down. I mean, I don't know what they do. I imagine what they built. They do servers? They sell whatever. There's gotta be some way they make money. But by waiting until he became CEO, I mean, yeah, you know, making him a target, you know, he did this privately. He didn't do it as CEO or FCO or whatever O of Mozilla. This is his thing. Whatever your politics is, that should be your deal. But, you know, again, he ended up on a list, so that didn't help. And it wasn't really like the website that went after him like, we're just not going to let Firefox access their site. You can punch through and go on the site. There was just this alert saying, we don't condone this guy as CEO of Firefox. It was just a message put in front of everybody.
Well, what the fuck difference does it make?
But, you know, and the thing is, he stepped down.
Who asked them to condone anybody?
Right. Well, you know,
who the fuck elected these assholes on this site to condone anybody as CEO of a company that they have no ownership of? You know, if they want to not condone him as CEO, then they can fucking go out, buy stock, and go to the stockholders meeting and stand up and say their piece. That's not what they're doing. They're basically running around saying we get to choose who gets to have jobs and who doesn't based on what they vote for or what they give money to or whatever. It's this whole social justice liberal fucktard nonsense. You know, and I'm not saying that Pat Robertson is any better for doing this, because let's face it, we know Pat Robertson would never support the IRS listing religious contributions on websites. All right, the religious don't have to list who they give charitable donations to. Companies do. So Pat Robertson's a fucking hypocrite, and so are these other people, because I'm betting they wouldn't be happy if like a right-wing site went out and said, hey, you know, you vote for something we don't like, therefore we're going after your ass. They'd be screaming fucking bloody murder.
Oh, easily. But that's the thing. These people did it. I can't fault them for what they did and why they wanted to do it. I mean, I really can't find any fault, because they spoke their mind. This is what they believed in, and they, you know, I mean, seeing reading about this thing, when he got voted as CEO, he took the job. All of a sudden, everybody went apeshit because this information came out. A website decides, hey, we're going to make a statement, you know, and did it. This wasn't a gay site or anything like that. This was the site was a dating site, and they just, you know, hey, we just believe in, you know, I think the thing was that we believe in getting people together. We don't discriminate against any gay, lesbian, you know, straight, you know, whatever. They don't discriminate.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And well, wait a minute, because they made their statement. There's nothing saying that the guy had to step down. They just made the statements. These people are making statements that they don't like this guy. He could have kept his job. Nobody, he quit the job. He backed out of the job. He did not get fired. He quit on his own. And you know what? I mean, if he could have stayed on and say, hey, you know, this is what I did. This is, you know, he could have tried to explain himself away, or he could have just kept quiet, whatever he wanted to do, you know, but this is the way it panned out. I'm kind of leaning toward this might have been a little bit of bullshit involved, because, you know, it just happened that this guy made these donations when he was FCO. It wasn't when he was CEO. He worked, you know, he was a creator of the Mozilla group, and he had been working for the company. Apparently this was an independent, donation. This wasn't Mozilla sending money to a group opposed to Prop 8. This was this guy. They could have went after him in 2008. No, they waited to 2014. So I think there's some bullshit involved here, because once he became CEO, now it became a big deal. So
he was a target of opportunity.
You know, it was a bullshit move. I mean, it really sucked, because they want to go after the biggest, it's that mentality to go after the biggest dollars. I mean, that's what lawyers do. Hey,
yeah, but he doesn't get them any money. And so far, at least, I haven't seen them going after Pat Robertson as being a vocal advocate of discriminating against gay marriage. I haven't seen them going after the guy who runs eHarmony, which is the biggest fucking dating site out there, who doesn't permit gay marriage or gay things on his site. I don't see him going after any of that stuff. These are people that they could go after who are a bigger name than this guy from Mozilla. But it's not as easy to go after those. They can't just lock out a browser. You've got to actually figure out the people who are going to be affected by this. So they're just doing it for publicity. That's the whole thing is. It's just for publicity. It's a publicity stunt. Nothing more, nothing less. I bet you it doesn't even have anything to do with gay marriage. It was just something that they could do where it was really easy for them to say, hey, we can technically do this and get a lot of attention for our site. And it doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference. I'm sure they don't even care about him and Prop 8. It's an excuse. It's nothing more.
I do agree with that. I do agree, but there's that part that screams publicity stunt.
I'm not supporting what he did or what he gave money to or what he supports or anything like that. I'm not defending him being anti-gay. If he is anti-gay, I don't know what the situation was behind it. It doesn't matter. All right. I am not supporting that. I am simply supporting his right to have free speech, to give money to a position that he supports, just like Pat Robertson can, just like those fuckers on that dating site can, just like the liberal left can. They all have a right to give money to whoever the fuck they want, and they should not have anybody coming after them, costing them their jobs because they supported the wrong fucking cause. That's the same kind of bullshit way back in the day where the Catholics were trying to get P.C. Myers fired because whatever the fuck he did with communion wafers. And I thought that was bullshit because you don't have a right to come and harm someone financially, personally, professionally, anything else, just because you disagree with their political positions. And this is the kind of bullshit that we're seeing under modern liberal social justice issues. This happens a lot. And fuck the social justice assholes. I'm sick and tired of those shitholes who think that they get to get people fired, or they get to harm people, or they get to publish people's addresses so people can go hurt them, or whatever else, because they just don't like the person or they just don't like what they vote for. That's stupid. And that's really all I got to say on it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I have no issue with them. I mean, when you see an injustice, you gotta speak out. I mean, I can't fault that. I mean, I can't fault the attack on this guy because Prop 8 was, it sounds to me like that was such a, I mean, I'm not from California. I think was I there? Or was I there right after that happened? So I think I was there in 2009. That happened in 2008. I mean, I remember seeing it and hearing all the backlash, how the Mormons had pumped money into the Prop 8 and, money straight from Utah was being pumped into some of those elections. I mean, it was really from someone outside of the state. I mean, you're inside the state, but from outside the state, I mean, that sounded so much like it was like, what would you call it? Like a Chicago election. It's like vote early, vote often. All this money from outside the country and came in, was pumped into that campaign. I'm sure there's a lot of hurt feelings in California over that on both sides. And I mean, this could very well be a very spiteful move on somebody's part. I mean, Mozilla, it's a free software, Firefox. I mean, I think just about every hippie who's opposed to Microsoft would rather have you run either, it was always Firefox. You gotta use Firefox. When Chrome came along, I don't even think that got kind of as big a push as, you gotta run Firefox. And it's like, I mean, I'm sure there's like all sorts of ugliness came together against this guy. There's probably a lot more that we don't even know about, in the background, and, whatever discussions went on. I don't know why the guy had to quit. I mean, unless he's afraid that he's brought too much attention to the company or the wrong attention.
Oh, I'm sure.
Stuff like that. So I don't think this was good, but I think, on the other hand, I mean, this is kind of the stuff we have to do to get any kind of change if we're going to get rid of the stupid, creationism in Texas schools or, that. We got to do stuff like that. And it's going to be.
But how did it change anything? How did anything change? It didn't change that Prop 8 won. And let's all remember the reason why Prop 8 won was because fucking Obama was running for president. Obama is the cause of Prop 8's victory. Let's not forget that shit. Because all kinds of black and Hispanic people who had never registered to vote just so they could vote for a black man in the presidency, and those people tended to be overwhelmingly religious. So they all voted for Prop 8 while they were there. They also voted for a whole lot more social spending on poor people because they were overwhelmingly poor. So, that election was really kind of fucked up to begin with. But to be real honest, how did this change anything? All right, it got this guy to stop being CEO of Mozilla. The guy's already a multi-billionaire. All right. If he had the views before, why does he not have the views now? Why is he not going to give money to the next thing that comes along? How did anything change? This isn't about change. This is about revenge. They don't care about change. If they cared about change, they wouldn't be bitching about something that happened 6 years ago.
So I'm not arguing about.
They'd be bitching about something that's happening today. And people who are currently spending money on bills and things that are up now, but they're not. They did it because it was easy and it was quick and it was revenge.
Yeah, so I'm not arguing that there was anything changed. Nothing changed. But this is certainly a revenge thing. I mean, and.
Yeah.
anybody who's on the wrong side of that argument is, I mean, they're targets. And if they, I mean, like I said, I mean, from what I saw about what happened out there, I mean, it was a clusterfuck. And it was, you know, I mean, you did Chicago proud the way that election went. I mean, between that and, electing, Arnold for, governor. I mean, that whole, watching that play out here, watching it from Illinois, it's like, how many, a couple hundred, people jumped in to be governor of California. I mean, it was like, it looked like a joke. I mean, I think it made us forget about Florida and the joke that they are, for a while until Ohio came along. But,
Well, Arnold wasn't that bad to begin with, but after that first election, no, he was an asshole.
Just the circus that was surrounded it. That was the thing. I mean, you had a couple hundred people throwing petitions in to be governor. I mean, it was like, what's going on here? But, when I heard, was watching the Prop 8 kind of pan out, and it's like, this is crazy. And then the aftermath, finding out who put money into the, where the money was coming from. The Mormons are pumping money in. All the religious groups, all that was pumping money into those campaigns, for and against. It's like, why? I mean, unless there's this weird belief that, if it happens in California, the rest of the country follows suit. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Whatever the deal was, but clearly, I mean, a lot of people were ticked off, and this guy it's just another victim of that 2008 election.
Yeah. Well, I wish that they would stop with their victimhood nonsense, because I'm sick and tired of it.
Well, watching Jesse Jackson work, I mean, I would compare this to a Jesse Jackson type of thing. He finds some company or whatever, whoever it is, whatever, something racist or whatever. He goes in and blackmails the company. I mean, literally, he says you either give us, you give us $1 million to put into Rainbow Push and these organizations, or we'll boycott you. We'll get everyone in Chicago to boycott, your company. We saw it, time and time again. The guy was blackmailing these companies into complying. All they have to do is do an apology and $1 million, or a couple $1 million. And that's the way, Operation Push operates.
Yep.
I saw, what's that guy, Al Sharpton. He did the same shit. It's like, and nobody calls him on it. I mean, in Illinois, we saw it play out.
Yeah, if you do call him on it.
Yeah. I mean,
if you do call them on it, they call you racist.
Right. Well, the news was reporting it. I mean, they were reporting it like matter of fact. Oh yeah, the company it says they'll pay $2, $3, $5 million to this fund and offer an apology for the thing. It's like that motherfucker went in there and blackmailed these people into paying that money.
Yep.
In Illinois, you could say that. You can call them on it, and it's like, yeah, that's business as usual. That's the Chicago way. Do it anywhere else, yeah, you're a racist.
All right, well, we've been going for a long, long time on this, and I think we've probably run out of steam, so let's go ahead and close up for the week. That was all the news we fit to bitch about, or at least all the news we could fit in for the week. If you have any stories you'd like us to tackle, head on over to our website and let us know. You can also tell us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and email. Plus, you can listen to our answers on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. We'd love to know your thoughts, so get to work. Until next week, take care and remember, you ought to be smarter than the religious. It's kind of hard not to be. See y'all later.
Good night, everyone.
You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report Podcast with your hosts, Cephas and Mike. You can follow us on Twitter respectively at Bitchspot1 or at JDRipper1962. Please visit our website at report.jdragononline.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bitchspot Report. We're also on Google+, iTunes, and YouTube. Those links are at our website. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us via email at report@jdragononline.com. Comments, ideas, and suggestions are always welcome. We'll be back next week with another fun and fact-filled episode. Please tune in again.